Then he sits on the Budget Committee. So what is John Thune's plan to keep us from going over the fiscal cliff? You're about to find out. He's coming into Studio E.
That's the Varney walk.
But with just weeks remaining before America is set to fall off the fiscal cliff, the president remains adamant about raising taxes on the rich. He's got to do it.
Encouraged to see that there's been some discussion on the part of Republicans acknowledging the need for additional revenue. Just to be clear, I'm not going to sign any package that somehow prevents the top rate from going up for folks at the top 2%.
Yeah, I think we've heard that a couple of times. So can Congress make a deal, and should the president focus on cutting spending? Because really, Washington has a spending problem. Let's talk to Senator John Thune, who's the chairman of the Senate Republican Conference and member of the U.S. Senate Budget Committee. Good to have you.
Good to be with you, Steve. Thank you.
All we know is that they're at a stalemate. What do you know?
Well, I think that describes things right now. A lot of it comes to the definition of the problem. We believe that this is a spending problem. The president and some of his allies in Congress believe it's a revenue problem. They want more taxes. He ran on more taxes. We don't believe that solves the problem. And if you look at it, if the president gets everything he wants, the tax increases go up, taxes go up January 1st, it funds the government for less than a week. Well, what are you going to do for the rest of the year? Right. What are you going to do to address the real problem, which is runaway federal spending?
And the President of the United States has not made, in public, presented any plan, okay, this is how we're going to fix entitlements going forward. I mean, at least you guys have done that.
Well, it really is stunning if you think about it. This president just won a big election, and you would think that he would want to lead, but he hasn't put anything forward to solve this problem. This is the biggest crisis facing the country right now. Republicans have put plans out there dealing with entitlement reform, tax reform, things that would get the economy growing again, which would solve a lot of these problems. The president said in his post-election press conference that the most important thing to him was jobs in the economy. Well, then he turns right around and says, I want to raise taxes by $1.6 trillion. Those seem to be very contradictory objectives.
It does seem his objective, and a number of commentators on the right have said, it's all about politics. He wants to punish the Republicans.
Well, I do think that there's an element of politics in everything this president does. Clearly, it's important, in my view at least, that he engage in the discussion with the leaders on Capitol Hill, with Republicans in the House and the Senate. That hasn't happened.
Okay, so the fiscal cliff is looming. There are a lot of people who say, the Republicans need to stand together and if the president isn't going to deal fairly and offer up some spending cuts and talk about entitlement reform and stuff like that, the Republicans need to be willing to hold hands and jump off the fiscal cliff with the president. Are you ready?
Well, we would prefer that didn't happen. I mean, there are a lot of bad outcomes. You've got a lot of analysis that's been done out there. Ernst & Young says if we go over the fiscal cliff, or if we raise taxes on the top two rates, which is about 1 million small businesses who employ 25% of the workforce, that'll cost us over 700,000 jobs, reduce economic growth, lower take-home pay, all those sorts of things. So that's a bad scenario. The president has made it very clear. Tim Geithner, his Treasury Secretary, said a couple of days ago, absolutely we're ready to go over the cliff. Republicans don't think that's the solution. But I do think that if he gets what he wants, he gets higher taxes, he gets defense cuts if we go over the cliff. And so I don't think there's a lot of incentive on the president's part right now to be at the table to make a deal, which is why he's not very engaged in this discussion.
Well, the good news for the Republicans is that the looming debt, raising the debt ceiling talks, that's just around the corner. And you guys obviously have the upper hand on that.
Well, I think we do have some leverage with the debt ceiling increase, more than we do right now, because right now he's got the cards. If nothing happens, if Congress doesn't act, taxes go up automatically. The debt ceiling at least requires Congress to take action. Now, what we're told is the president is even thinking about what he might be able to do to raise the debt ceiling without going through Congress, which would be a huge mistake.
He just wants to change the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly. It's a constitutional issue.
Okay. A lot going on down in Washington, D.C. You should go back immediately, Senator John Thune. They need you.
Yeah, thanks. All right, Steve.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Great to be with you.
All right.